from having to go through all that. And then we're gonna have a couple of guest spots. We're gonna have a call in. Daniel, are you gonna get Tony for us?
This is a lot. Okay. All right. Let's see. We're gonna get Tony up here, and where'd he go?
So I'm actually watching the stream. Daniel's got me over here in the corner as he makes some updates to our studio wear. And so I am in the unfortunate lagged position. But while we wait for our caller, Scott, introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Scott Jungclaus, and I've been a friend of Mark's and Daniel's for almost 20 years at least, and real excited to be here, and glad you invited me. Thank you.
You're welcome. And
Okay, we are ready to get Tony on the phone whenever you are, and hopefully this should work. You're going to put your headphones on so you can hear him.
all right, guys, this pre-live show gets a little bumpy in the beginning. So, hey, what's up, Lee? I am seriously lagged on this thing.
Yeah.
So you may want to introduce the guests or talk to them.
Okay. You should be able to hear yourself.
Check. Check.
Just a sec. Yeah.
Overcoming a little technical difficulties here.
Yeah? Can you hear?
I know.
You can't hear yourself at all.
I can't hear a thing.
Okay, well that's not good. It's not supposed to work like that.
Here, do you want to take this? Figure that out.
Yeah. You keep talking to people.
So, Scott, let's talk about you were a fireman before you were a cop,
I was for 2 years.
and then you became a police officer, and you were coming home from night out with your wife,
I was. We were up the hill gambling.
and then what happened? Tell us what happened.
It was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and we were about 5 minutes from home, and a young kid, about 27 years old, was in his father's car and was texting, and he ran a red light at about 60 miles per hour, and he broadsided the front end of my truck, and we ended up flipping on the side of the passenger side of the truck. And so we were trapped in the vehicle for about 25 minutes together, and it was probably one of the scariest things I've been involved in. I've been involved in shooting type incidences over the 26 years and a lot of SWAT type calls and stuff, and it was probably literally the scariest thing I've been involved in my entire life.
Because you were busted up pretty bad.
Yeah. So I shattered my whole right pelvis, and I broke my right femur, and my wife had broken parts of her back and broken her sternum. And
So we're in the truck. You're hanging upside down by your seatbelt, and let's cut to Tony, and we'll cover it on the other end after we talk to him, and we've got him on the line.
We are calling now.
And if you're a new listener or you're an old listener, you know that sounds freaky.
All right.
That
You should be ringing.
it's echoey.
I killed you. You should have your ring.
Oh, okay, good.
Is it ringing?
It's ringing. Listen, if you, Tony, it's Mark from the Mark Hope Show. How are you doing? Good. You're on air on the show, and we kind of interrupted the show. I want to tell the listeners that I talked to you on the phone today, and you're a contractor who does a lot of everything related to construction here in the Denver metro area, correct? From making a cabinet, putting in a counter. Oh, we'd love to have you on. As a matter of fact, you're so busy all the time that I want to call you up sometimes when I have people call and ask about, some of these construction things that they have in their business, because a lot of realtors listen to the show. But you're so busy that you're never available, except for I talked to you today about, and you said that you had a client cancel on you. So you've got, what, a week or 2 weeks? Some big job cancel on you? So you're available. So if people are listening to this show and they have a contractor, no matter what it was, whether there's a bathroom or a kitchen or even a full house flip, you and your team are ready to go to work right now. That is something that doesn't happen very often. So if you guys want to get involved in a project with wall to wall restorations, this is your opportunity to do that. Tony, what's the phone number that people would call to have you come over and work on their stuff? And as always, we're going to go ahead and put the link to Tony's pages and email and the phone number in the show notes. But it's just phenomenal that you're available, because some of these guys that are out there are just kind of shifty, huh? I know you probably don't want to say that about your contemporaries, but I've had a lot of contractors that don't really do what they say they're going to do.
I don't think we're hearing Tony on the air here. You can hear him, but it's not going through. Let me work on that.
Yeah, Daniel's saying there's some technical difficulties with you being able to come through on the podcast. We want to ask the listeners there, Daniel?
No, they're saying that they can't hear. So we're working on that. Just give us a second, and we will certainly get that figured out.
Tell you what, Tony, we're going to call you back after Daniel fixes this technical thing. We're going to get you back on the air and finish talking to Scott. So everybody stand by, and we'll get Tony back on the station.
Okay, man.
So, Daniel, you're monitoring that now when people are logging in?
Yes.
Will you just let me know if
I
anybody
certainly
has any questions?
will.
I can't. I can't follow it here.
Okay, it's okay. Yeah, no problem. We will do that. We're just gonna figure out this Skype thing.
Scott, you're hanging upside down in this truck. Your wife is below you, and then what?
Actually, I'm on top of my wife. And
Right, but you're hanging down below her, so when you unbuckle, you actually fall down with her.
Right. So I'm on top of her, and she's starting to tell me how I need to raise our daughter, that she's going to pass away. And she's been a police officer for just as long as I have been, and she's very upset and in pain. And so I start to punch the windshield to the truck, trying to get out. And I think, well, this is not going to be that big of a deal. I'm just going to stand up and open up the car door and try to help my wife out. And at that time, I just couldn't move my legs at all, so I didn't know if I was paralyzed or if what had happened. I thought either I shattered my hips or I was paralyzed. So we had to wait, and some great people stopped to help us, and firemen came, and it took them quite a while to get us out. But once they got us out, then we were transported to the hospital.
So 1 second, your life was just going along and you're out on a date with your wife, and then the very next second that you realize, you wake up in the trauma unit at the hospital.
Yeah.
It was like that, right?
Yeah, it very much was. And I at the time I thought this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. But it's turned out to be one of the best things that's ever happened to me. As weird as that sounds, it's been after the surgery, or the first surgery that I had, doctor said I would never be a police officer again. I would never walk. That my life would change very drastically. And I didn't really want to hear any of that kind of stuff. So not necessarily a quitter in my life, as you know. And so things started to turn around. I was on some very heavy narcotics for a long time. Became very depressed. As we all know, these doctors, they're not afraid to hand out narcotics and pain pills. And they didn't really know how to help. And there was some arguments between the insurance companies and whatnot about who was going to treat me. And so it was about after 7 months later is when I finally got a surgeon to say, hey, you need a full hip replacement. You should have had it, weeks after the accident. And
well, let's back up. Let's back up to the actual in the hospital. When I saw you after the accident, they had actually drilled a rod through your leg.
Yeah.
Through your thigh.
Right.
And then they had it on sandbags on the other side of this pulley thing, because your whole hip joint and everything from your femur bone had gone through all the hip socket was gone.
Exactly.
It was just sharp bones and just what was left of your leg thing. And if any of that touched,
it
then
was very painful.
You'd pass out.
Yeah, it was very painful. Very much so.
And so they did meatball surgery on that whole thing first.
Correct.
Just to kind of scotch tape that thing back together as best they could.
Right. Put plates in me and screws
and so then you're suffering with this great pain for 5 or 6 months until they actually do the second surgery.
Correct.
So
I laid in bed for as you know, probably about 3 or 4 months on heavy narcotics. And this was, my wife's such a trooper, and my wife and child took care of me. And this was just a time that we grew even closer after our 21 years of marriage. And it was a time where we learned how to kind of diversify our lives a little bit. And she got better and got to go back to work. And it just continued treatment. And the weird thing, one thing I want to talk about is just, again, the heavy narcotics, and then you have to wean yourself off these narcotics. It's not like you can just stop taking them one day and then, go back to work. So I had to wean myself. The doctors and whatnot had to wean me off these narcotics. And at that point, it was just, where do I take my life from here, and how do I turn a negative into a positive? And friends like you, we spent many nights on the phone talking, and friends and family, and that's basically what got me to the point I am today. And just positivity and my religion, and just trying to have a better outlook on, not trying to look at the accident as, yes, again, it was the worst thing that's ever happened to me, but it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. It showed me who my true friends were.
Right.
And showed me...
and it wasn't all... There were some dark times in there.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. And so, over the last... still not fully healed, I'm still having a lot of nerve problems in my legs and in my hips, but...
and probably won't ever be.
No, I don't... Probably not.
You always want to hope for the best, but, especially as we get older and, once we get beat up enough, you have to kind of realize you have to kind of finish the race on the tires that you're on.
That's right.
And they're maybe a little bald or whatever. Maybe you got to just get through it.
Sure.
And I think that that's part of figuring out, what seasons of life that you're involved in. And I think that's probably what we're going to talk about with you a little bit is, you're a hard charging police officer, and you're running people down and tackling people, and you're doing all the stuff that you do with physical police work. And you were on the SWAT team for a number of years, and so what that's like, being the hero that's going in and doing all that stuff. And then you get things taken away.
Right.
And that's pretty frustrating.
Very frustrating. Very frustrating. So I went back to work at full time and on back on the road in January, and I hold the rank of a sergeant where I work, and things just weren't working the same. And it was harder to get in and out of the car. It was harder to fight people. It was harder to basically just do my job in general. It would hurt to stand for more than 20 minutes. It would hurt to sit for more than 20 minutes. And in all honesty, just what got me, through it all keeps me going is not just my family. That's obviously the number one thing, my friends and my family. But what keeps me going the most, the citizens that I work for, and just again, it's just the support that I get from my friends and family is what just keeps me going.
Let's pause that for a second here. We're gonna push this button here and see if it switches over like I think it's going to. I didn't want to stop in the middle of what you're saying. We're recording everything, and that's working out well. So just want to make sure this is working fine now because it's a lot of channels. So we're gonna mute this one. Should give us audio for everybody. Hey, look. Okay. All right. So that should be better now.
Do you want to see if you can get Tony on?
We can try. Everybody out there listening, how does it sound now? Can we still hear all right? Nobody wants to answer now.
Well, they're probably all gone.
No, they're all still there.
Here's what Daniel's dealing with. If anybody wants to look.
No, don't look at the... No.
Oh, wait a minute. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, this is what we're dealing with. We got everything.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Scott, go ahead and say something.
Sure.
All right.
Somebody will answer us out there.
Yeah.
I know there's people listening.
Okay, Katie says we sound good. Okay.
Sorry for the sluggishness of the show, guys. We're just kind of dealing with some issues.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okie doke. We're gonna get Tony back on here whenever you're ready. Here, headphones on for you guys.
Okay.
And we're gonna just give him another call. I'm gonna mute myself. Okay. Are we ready? It should be coming in now.
Tony, it's Mark from the Mark Hope Show again. We're going to try this. We'll try this again. We had an audio feed issue. The people were saying they weren't hearing you on the phone. Are you guys hearing Tony on the phone? Tony, can you hear me? That's what we're thinking. I don't know. Why don't you tell me what some of the things are that you're expert in that you could do for people, and we'll have a chance to see if they can listen to you. Absolutely. Well, I wanna put the message out a little bit, and are you gonna be available later on in the evening tonight? You'll be around in about an hour. I want everybody to give Tony a call if you need some work done on your place, and I will give all the information out, and then we'll round back and catch up with you a little bit later and kind of work on our streaming issues that we're working with, Tony. But anybody that needs any work done, Tony is the guy, and he's available now. So if you need anything from masonry work to plumbing to electrical, call me or call Tony, and we'll get him over there to take care of you guys. Tony, thanks for calling. Sorry we had the technical issues, and we'll get you on again real soon. All right, buddy. Take care. Sorry about that, folks. 3 mics and a telephone call broke it up.
Facebook isn't playing nice with us a little bit, but we'll get it figured out.
And it has to do with the Facebook Live feature that we're doing.
It really is.
Especially when you're splitting the screen. So, Scott, let's get back to the story that we're talking about with you. Things weren't working right at work. You weren't able to do some of the things that you're used to doing, and you were in a lot of pain. And
Yeah, and so I've just had to work through those issues little by little as it goes, and continue the support from my friends and my family and coworkers, and sometimes they've had to pick up in areas where I can't do as much anymore, and there's other areas that I can pick up for them.
But it's my belief as we get older in life that the older ones provide wisdom and they provide experience, and the younger ones, I earn far less money now with my back and my strength in my body than I do with my knowledge and my experience. And I think, that's one of the things that we all have to learn is to let the younger guys take over and do the experience gathering that they're doing while we're helping them along.
Sure.
And I believe that maybe you got thrust into that stage of life a little sooner because of that accident that you had. So now you're going to have to kind of depend on your wit and your will.
Sure.
A little bit more than maybe you were thinking about another 10 years of brawn.
Right.
And that kind of thing. So we get kind of prematurely driven into those parts of our life that maybe we're not ready yet.
Absolutely. I think that I'm sure your viewers can't tell, but I'm not a spring chicken like I used to be. And, I think it's just you move on, like you said, and you get the knowledge that you can. And, police work's not a old man's game. It's a young man's game. And that's why you see the guys moving up throughout the ranks and,
right.
Let the younger guys chase the guys down and stuff. So, but honestly, it's just been, again, I've told you this before, it's just been like one of the worst things that's ever happened to me, but it's been the best thing. I mean, it's just given me a different outlook on life completely. I used to be very stressed out about work and all the little things in life that I couldn't control. And now I just don't worry about that stuff because it's just not important. Anything I can't control is just really not that important to me in my life.
And that's huge. That's a huge happiness building block that you have to get a hold of. Because we're always changing, all of us, everyone in the audience, that's listening right now, everybody has some kind of trouble and some
Right.
kind of thing that they're dealing with. And I lean on the premise of this show to be, that rising out of adversity. That's, one of the reasons that, you're such a good fit on the show is because, a lot of our small business people that are fighting the fight every day, people like Tony, he had his whole crew and everything sidelined and ready to do jobs. And now somebody called up and canceled it. So now he's got to fight through that and then, get some more work picked up and do some jobs and spread the word about what he's doing. I mean, it's always about,
Right.
learning and growing and responding to adversity that makes us stronger.
Right.
And you mentioned something about your faith. I know kind of how you feel about things, but that faith got a workout.
Yeah. Yeah, to say the least.
When you're laying in bed, I mean, I think that there was a lot of times that you were asking, why me?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the people that are listening to the show can identify with, the why is me question.
Sure. Yeah, a lot of times when I would lay in bed at night, when I was stuck in bed, I'd think, was I a good husband now? Was I a good father? How was I going to do the things around the house that maybe I once did and I can't do now? And, I questioned my faith a lot, and you know, I just it's weird. Like at first, I questioned my faith, but then I became stronger in my faith, and as I progressed, and God gave me what I felt was the answers to progress in life and overcome some of these issues that I at the time thought was a big deal, but in reality, it really wasn't that big of a deal. And again, talking with friends and family and just getting the support from church and things like that, it was actually a little bit easier to overcome than it I first looked like it was going to be.
Well, and I think that there are those moments when you're like, why, woe is me? Why did you pick me for this? You know, and can somebody chime in the notes? I mean, are you guys hearing us? I see a lot of people logging in and no comments, just to make sure that everybody can still hear.
Yeah, some people said that they could hear fine.
But I mean, there's 20 logins.
I see that. It should be just fine.
They can log in and say hi.
Yep.
I won't
All
bite.
goods.
All good. All right. So,
let's face it, life in general is just hard to live these days, and you know, and whether it's making money or, like you said, Tony, having that adversary of something coming up, it's just the world creates challenges. In my opinion, it's just how you handle those challenges.
but it makes you somebody different.
Absolutely.
Tell me about the Scott before the accident and the Scott now, 8 years later.
The Scott before the accident was pretty uptight, worried about every little thing, worried about if everything in the day was going to go perfect. That's just not really me anymore. My life now is just, don't get me wrong, I still want things to go good throughout the day, but the little things that I can't control, I just trust in my Lord and my family and things that we'll just get through it, and it's just not really that big of a deal. I don't worry about money like I used to. Money comes and goes, and I've always felt like it's your family and your friends that are going to be there for you. You know, I know we all stress about like retirement and are we going to have enough money, and you know, who are my friends from work going to be and who are they not going to be. And truly the one thing I've learned is that you know, your friends and your true friends and family are going to be there for you, and money's just not as important as it used to be.
And you're a lot more relaxed.
Very much so.
So I feel like maybe that makes you a better dad.
I can
more patient with your daughter.
Absolutely.
And
I can tell you that my wife and my child have commented to me several times on they loved the new me.
well, I think sometimes, we get trapped up in a lot of the physical trappings of the world, and the money is important. We have to make the money, we have to work, we have to do all this stuff. And then some of the things that are really important, like Daniel spending time with his 2 little girls that he has.
Yeah.
You got a comment here. It says, Scott is a rock star. Keep on going, buddy.
Thank you.
I like that.
Yeah, me too.
And it's true. And you too, Daniel. I mean, you've got your priorities changed, and you're spending time with your little girls, and
Yeah.
thankfully you didn't have to get busted up in an accident for you to just figure out what the real important things in life are.
Right.
And maybe sometimes there's, people out there in the audience that are spending too much time at work. They're giving away too much stuff for their job.
Well, that's one of the things I realized too, is that my little girls were growing up right in front of me, and I could sort of see it every so often, but I would work, and then it's bedtime, and you see them for a little bit, and you start to think, like, this time isn't going to come back.
Right.
This is
Absolutely.
your only shot to see them be 2 and 3 and 4 years old.
Right.
So you better enjoy it while you can, because you're only getting one time of seeing this. And that was kind of eye-opening for me as well.
Well, and we hustle, and we have several different jobs. I mean, everybody that wants to get somewhere is hustling. They got a side hustle. They're doing their main job. But what have I told you for years? What are the 3 orders of priorities?
God, family, and then your work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to be first. You can't be first. You don't want to be second.
Right.
But
Third, work is important.
make sure your work is bigger than softball.
Absolutely.
Right.
But if your family needs you, or your kids need you, or you need to be doing something like that, then there has to be balance, you know.
Right.
And I think that that's what happens when some of these cataclysmic things happen to us. It brings balance.
Absolutely.
So maybe you were tilted all the way over on one side, and you got hit by a screaming car, and it knocked you back into the balance.
I agree.
Yeah, maybe so.
I have said for years, and Daniel can attest to this, whenever I'm talking to people about, how important they are, or how important I am, or, how much we need to worry about everything. Graveyards are full of indispensable people.
That's right.
And one day comes, and the next day they're not here, and we're getting along just fine. So if you really think that you're important, just remember, you can just be your job posting will be in the, I would say newspaper, but that's going to date me, but it will be online before your obituary, and we're just not all that important except for to our families.
Right.
Right.
And the little kids. And, I read something the other day that was really meaningful. As a matter of fact, I think I posted it on the show page, but you only get to keep the things in this life that you pack away in your heart.
Yeah.
All the physical things, the cars, the watches, the motorcycles, all of the jewelry and the houses and the ski boats, you don't get to keep any of that stuff.
Right.
It's so funny you say that because, as you know, my mother-in-law just passed away last week. And we talked about that, how she had her whole family around her, and she felt the love as she passed away. And it had nothing to do with her cars or bank account or anything that she had made in her life of 76 years. It was the love of her friends and family that were around her.
Yeah. And I'd like to ask the audience that if anybody has a near-death experience or anybody has gone through traumatic injury or sickness and then come out the other side, it changes you. And I've had that happen, and I've wondered, just how long I have. And luckily, I'm going to be around for a while, but I've faced that uncertainty myself, and the things that I thought were really important are not very important, and the things that I should have really been paying more attention to turn out to be the things that really are the very best things.
Right.
Scott, to your point, my great uncle recently just passed away, and he was 90 something, terminal cancer, and it was a long time coming. But in the end, he was in a hospital bed in his house. That's what he wanted, and people came, and the whole family came, and he was there a little bit, but instead of being sad and whatever, he had 15 people show up in this tiny house, and they were cooking and eating and holding his hand and talking to him and telling him it was okay, and they were all there and they loved him, and he'd squeeze back a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
And once everyone went their ways, then he passed away that very next day. But it's it was an interesting thing. Instead of everyone, and people were sad,
Sure, of
but
course.
still, just that family being together with him, I think made it easier for him because he knew.
Right,
He knew
right.
they were there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Powerful thing.
Well, and that begs the question on should they be sad?
I don't think so. I mean, I've always said, one person's loss is another person's reunion. And I think that you need to celebrate the people's lives and show the accomplishments that they had and think about those good memories and not the time when the hot water heater went out and they all worried about money and things like that. And, I just think that it's a celebration of life. And, it all goes back to your religious thinking. And, I would never push my religious thinking on anyone. But, the way I feel is, that's your goal is to go be with Jesus Christ. And I think you celebrate that life and show their accomplishments in life. You can either be a negative Nelly in life, or you can surround yourself with positive people and positive situations, and I think your life will run pretty good.
Which is huge. That's, rejecting negative people and negative situations out of your life is a big tenet that I cling to. I will not fool around with negative people.
Right.
Believe me, I do not talk to them for very long. And then that makes that vortex of the positive people getting sucked into your life, and your life just blossoms.
Right.
And, I'm going to talk for just a second on this life or death thing. And just so everyone knows, the Facebook Live is just really us being live. And obviously, some of the mistakes that happen in our production get seen by the Facebook Live that don't show up on the podcast. They don't, a lot of that stuff that happens that's mumbly or whatever doesn't show up on the podcast or iTunes or on the YouTube videos or any of that kind of stuff, because it all gets edited out. What you're seeing here on the live, if you're patient and gracious enough to just stick with us and kind of be involved in what's going on during the taping of the podcast show, you get some of the stuff that doesn't make it to the actual show. And the thing that I'm about ready to talk to is probably going to be one of those things where Daniel is going to say, well, this 5 minutes that he talked about this, maybe I'm going to cut that up and I'll make that into another B-roll show and it won't go into the actual this show. But I'd actually talked at length with Scott on many of those late nights, because when I asked him if there was dark times, and I hope he's okay if I say this.
Oh, of course.
There were some very dark times, and he didn't know if he was going to be able to continue on, and the drugs had kind of given him a very loopy kind of mental state, and
Depression, you can say it.
to put not a fine point on it, I was worried about him. I was worried. I was so worried that the drugs were going to make him do something that he would not normally do, that I called him. I called him every single night, and every time I got done talking to him, I told him that I loved him, and then I would talk to him the next night at 7, and we talked every single night until, and I think that was months. That was like 5 or 6 months
At least.
Every single night we talked on the phone, and we talked about everything. We talked about everything under the sun. Our wives were like, oh, go call your fiance, Scott. But I think that was one of those otherworldly things that happened, to where I really kind of felt like my friend needed me and I needed to call him. And I think we kind of walked out of those dark times together.
Oh, yeah. And, I don't want to get too sappy here, but, just for what you did for me, it's really important for people to know that if you just take the time like Mark did, I could not have made it without Mark. And Mark's one of my good friends, obviously. But I couldn't have made it without you. And I mean that from my heart. We've talked about that.
Absolutely.
But, it just takes a moment of your time. And I actually have a friend right now that I'm talking to and reaching out to that's experiencing some dark times. And, that's just one thing that you hit on that I think that's really important, is that, what is so what am I trying to say?
Inconsequential.
Yeah. To call somebody for an hour, half hour, 20 minutes, it really does mean a lot to somebody who's going through some dark times, and to help pull me out of that.
Especially if they're bedridden and they're busted up and they can't get, they can't function, and they're just staring at those four walls. Then maybe just a stupid phone call from one of your buddies who, is joking around or just checking in or whatever. I mean, that's a bright spot in a long day.
It's huge. And when you would say to me, I remember, I will talk to you tomorrow night.
Even I was making an appointment.
And so the dark times and the dark thoughts I would have, I'd be like, oh, I can't do that because I got to talk to Mark tomorrow night.
And that's what I was hoping for. I'd hope you wouldn't let me down.
No,
and you're that
absolutely.
kind of friend. So even if you kind of, check out on yourself a little bit, I knew that you wouldn't check out without talking to me. And
absolutely.
And, the best time to learn anything is when you're teaching somebody something.
Yeah.
And so if you've gone through some of this stuff with experience, I could tell you it's the best thing that you can do in your life. We have lots of veterans that are out there, and the hashtag 22 program that, 22 veterans kill themselves every single day. and we have our brothers and sisters in law enforcement and other people that are in high stress situations, and a lot of times that loneliness is gripping. To where if somebody would have just called them up on that one specific day, maybe the outcome would have been different.
Absolutely. And I challenge all the people that watch your podcast, let that be you, to reach out to someone.
And just call them.
Yeah.
And you might find out, hey, maybe I better call them tomorrow because, maybe they need it.
Right.
I mean, Scott doesn't call me anymore. Now he's all
I'm over
healed up and he doesn't need me anymore. So it's hard to get a call in. I get a lot of voicemails from him. But, I'm kind of happy that he's a free bird and he doesn't need to talk to me every night. But I'm joking, of course.
Yeah.
But, one of those late night talks that we had, we talked about, what do you think happens to us? Why are we here? And I'm going to stop just a minute just to kind of give my thoughts on that. And I believe the reason that we're here, and this is the thing, Daniel, that you'll probably edit out of this podcast and put it on its own somewhere. But for several reasons and people that I've talked to in my life experiences over time, the reason that we're here is the Creator or God or whoever, whatever you want to call the person that's in control of all of this thing that we're doing, needs us to create love energy. And that's why we're here. That's the reason we're here. And that's why bad things happen. Because as we create this love energy, there needs to be friction. There needs to be traction. So if nobody ever falls down, nobody can ever be picked up. So unfortunately, those bad things need to happen so that the good love energy production thing happens.
Right.
And in your case, Scott, you got hit by a truck. And then that created this cataclysmic events of people helping you and encouraging you. And you were the catalyst for that love energy. And I believe that's why in most religions, it's very frowned upon to commit suicide. And the reason for that is because when somebody's dying, they become a massive engine that's creating all of this love energy that's going where it needs to go. And it's about, don't end that suffering because somebody needs to help you. It's for somebody else. They need to pick you up and they need to help you. And that is my version of the reason of why we're here. And the flip side of that version for me to kind of understand some of the negative things that happen, we need to have that happen. But one of the things that happens in my belief is you've got a multi-layered universe that millions and millions of lives are going on all at the same time, and they're all the same lives. So everyone that's listening to this radio show is going to be me at one point. Your soul is going to get dropped into my body and my circumstances, and what you do with your soul inside those circumstances is going to make the difference of what life that Mark Hope is going to have in that universe. For instance, if Helen Keller gets dropped into Adolf Hitler's body, things are going to be different because that soul and that treatment of all of those opportunities and struggles in life, Adolf Hitler becomes the kindest, most gentlest person in the history of man because of that other soul, that more experienced soul that's inside of that same set of circumstances. So I believe we have intuition. Why are people kind? Well, they've been there before, and they've experienced the bad part of it, and they make a change in those physical surroundings. So wherever you are, you're important. You're important to be making Jack the Ripper a kind, loving type of person that doesn't go around killing people, because your soul is injected into that particular circumstances, and you get to do them all. Every single person gets to do every single soul thing that there is. So that's why we have to have humility and we have to have understanding of our fellow man, because guess what? In the next iteration, maybe I'm going to be Scott, and maybe I'm going to get hit by a truck, and maybe I'm going to really need some guy to call me on the phone and some guy to come and talk to my daughter and say, hey, don't worry about your dad. I'm going to be here. If you need me, I want you to call me. I'm going to be your second dad, and nothing bad's ever going to happen to you, and don't worry about it. And that's the freedom of choice that we have. And a lot of people talk about that, freedom of choice that we have in life, and that's why it's so beautiful. Well, that's true. Your soul's learning, and if we choose those positive gateways,
Right.
then all of a sudden positive karma comes back on us, and that's a shifting too.
Right.
And so you're either playing for the negative side or you're playing for the positive side. And I don't think when we cross that ethereal plane, I think we're all knowing for a second, and then we're on to the next job.
Right.
And everybody's going to know. Oh, you did that. Oh, you were Donald Trump this time? Oh, my God. What I had to do when I was doing that was crazy. And then we all know, and then we go back into it, and it's a huge training thing, and that's why it never ends and it never begins. And so I'll leave it on never ending and beginning so that Daniel can mark it, and maybe he could just kind of take that rant out of there. But that's my solid belief that I run my life on, and that's why I try to have a positive impact on people's day every day.
Right.
Because I could be talking to my future self, or I could be, that cranky old lady that you see in the store is your beautiful granddaughter in a different iteration. And would you yell at your granddaughter because she was dirty or smelly and needed help and shun her? You might think about that a little differently if you said, every person I know is inside this person that's struggling. And maybe I better pay a little bit better attention, because it's not just some rando person. It's all of us. And I might get locked up in the nut hospital for that, but that is my
And
belief.
if you think that's hard to follow, do it on prescription narcotics.
That is my belief, and I went over it with Scott at
Oh, of
length,
course.
and we got through, and those were really special times for me too, Scott.
Yeah, well,
those were, after a little while of doing that, I really did feel like I was doing a good thing, and I really felt like I was helping a good guy that was in a really bad situation, no fault of his own.
Right, and it's brought us closer as friends.
Absolutely,
It's made up both of us more positive, and I don't care if everybody knows, we still talk every night almost, and
Right.
and those are just conversations because you're so positive, because I try to be positive, that it's conversations I look forward to almost every night.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I can't think of a better way to end the show. Daniel, do you have your 2 cents to put in here at the end? I know you're a little frustrated with the technical things that
No,
are going
I'm
on.
fine. I don't think anyone can hear me though. But so it's really you guys show right now. Scott, thanks for your time.
Oh,
Your
absolutely.
story. I know it's not. I don't know. It's a maybe difficult story to tell.
Sometimes.
Yeah. But thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. I guess, one message I'd like to say is, I know you guys talk a lot about business stuff, because I watch.
We do.
Watch your podcast and stuff. This is a little unusual, but for those businesses, especially the smaller businesses and things that have a tough time some days and struggling, that just surround yourself with positivity, and I assure you that things will start looking up.
And we're about helping people on this show.
Absolutely.
That's what we do, and a lot of times we help people in their businesses, and that's a big gig that we do. But we're very interested in people and their struggles.
Sure.
And this whole segment for me is just a call to what's important in life.
Yeah.
And if you've got a good friend and you're talking to them, and you're visiting and you're kind of taking care of each other, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good life. And maybe that doesn't cost a lot of money, and a lot of people maybe should think about that. I mean, you don't always have to be at the most expensive resort to be living your best life.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that big a deal. You could just get together and enjoy your...
Well, we talk about happiness in any circumstance a lot on this show. You've heard it.
Yeah, of course.
Like you said, not being at the highest end resort, but being happy where you are.
Absolutely.
And with your circumstance. And that's positive. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And we were going to have a call in from Jeff Meyer at Action Computers letting us know that they're having a great big sale down there at the store, and they've got all kinds of computers that are marked down, and as soon as they put them up, they knock them right back down again. There's Apples, there's tablets, there's all kinds of computers for people to do their schoolwork and run their businesses on. And Action is a huge sponsor of the Mark Hope Show, and we really, really appreciate them. They're the fastest, best service center in town. We're also sponsored by marketinghope.com. If you need help with your small business, we'll have links to all those people and their services in the show notes. And I have a very, very great guest lined up next week, and she has overcome a bunch of adversity as well, and you guys are going to want to tune into that show. So if nobody's told you that they love you today, I love you, and there isn't a damn thing you can do about it. And that's a wrap.
Are we done? Like off?
Yeah. we're
Okay.
off.
I got to say this. This was a great experience.
Oh, good.
Really?
Yo, it was a great experience. I have to say this, though. You got to quit this. This is like a kink in my neck. It feel like all you have to do.
Well, that's why I said I wanted you to turn your chair.
I did.
To where you're looking at me.
I did. But I almost feel like, just my 2 cents,
Yeah.
was like put that camera like behind you and like,
The problem is what's behind you.
oh, well, you could throw up a sheet or.
We're working on it every week.
Just
it's
that was
better.
the only part I didn't like
is-
was my whole neck the whole time was like,
Believe me, it's
but I liked it.
we
This was
change
great.
it every time.
I felt
Yeah,
like
to
I
be
was.
honest, I mean, normally he sits here and I kicked him out of the chair.
Oh,
and it's a good thing.
that
because
actually,
they would've
but
never-
that actually would work a little bit better that way.
it does.
Yeah,
So
But,
it may end up back here again.
yeah.
But we need to figure out.
I felt like I was on the Larry King show, man. This was awesome. I was
so
like,
many.
I enjoyed it. I
So
really
many
did.
It was
things
fun.
here.
It
And
brought up
I think we got
brought
some-
up some feelings in me, but you know, I was
think
able to
there was
choke
some
them
good
down.
Radio. I think there was
I
some
hope
good
so.
radio in there. What do you think, Daniel?
That was
What were
great.
the comments? What, any comments or?
People were quietly listening, which
Oh.
is fantastic.
I worked in your little thing that you wanted me to go over. Now Sue can listen to that. On the
Yeah.
podcast.
No,
So-
I'm gonna let her.
We had probably during it we you normally see like people drop off like 4 people and then you have 10 people and 12 and they come up and down whatever. This stayed between 10 and 15 the
Oh,
whole time you were talking.
no,
Which
that's
is-
good.
That's why you say, hey, all these people are doing they're just listening to the story, which I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there were a couple comments in there about check your people. It's important.
What happened with the phone?
I don't know. I can't test it while it's live. That's the problem.
Right.
I
mean,
could hear them on these things fine.
Oh yeah, I know. It recorded just fine, but it wouldn't pipe through to Facebook, and I don't know why. I'm trying to figure that out, but you know, you guys were doing a good thing, and
Yeah.
if I touched it, I knew I'd break it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, my buddy, he lives in California. He's a Jewish rabbi. I grew up with him. Matter of fact, his mom's who dates my dad. And
Tony. Hey, Mark. Hey, sorry about that. We're off the air now. There was some glitch with the Skype software going into the Facebook Live, but we are we're going to capture all that stuff that you and I talked about, and we're going to put it on the edited iTunes version, and we'll send that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
We can do a proper call again here in a second with him.
if you've got some time, we'll do a call that's not Facebook Live, and we can do a little bit more time if you want.
Yeah, I got time.
Okay.
I got time.
Of course, now I think
Yeah, you
it's
just let me
working.
know or call me back, or-
Yeah, just give me some time to work on Daniel's working on the technical stuff here, and then we'll give you a call back and we'll just do it.
So this is the thing here.
All right, buddy. Stand by.
Thanks, Mark.
I don't even understand that.
So all this is taking all of the microphones and Skype and everything.
they have.
Yeah. This is the same idea,
Radio.
only it's all digital.
Oh,
And it takes all of this in and it combines it in the software, and then it pipes it back out. Some of it goes to your headphones, some of it goes back out to the Skype caller, some of it goes to Facebook Live. And so all these little lights and buttons kind of point out what's going where. Because you can't have the Skype person hear themselves back, so you got to turn that off.
See, I got a lot of that.
I did that on purpose for you because it was just turned off. The volume was turned off on that, so I just had to fix that. But I did it on purpose, but then I turned it off so you could hear him. But for some reason, and I know why, I think I know some things. But I think we can try it again. And the only way to test Facebook Live is to go live, and that's there's no like practice mode.
Why don't you go live from the show page? Because nobody's there anyways. Fuck it.
But he, anyway, he does,
Okay.
every night he does a motivational kind of thing. But on Friday, he does like a Jewish synagogue thing.
Oh, you told me.
But he does Facebook Live. And my point was, he has a lot of problems with it too. He's he doesn't have anything even close to what you guys have. I mean, not even close.
Maybe it's a good thing.
No, I think
This is insane.
This is awesome.
This gets more complicated every time we do one.
This is awesome. I felt
We
like
started it up.
I felt like
and
I was on the Larry. I wanted to joke a little more, but I was like,
you-
it was like so
no.
serious. I was like,
No,
I felt
no,
like I was
no,
on the
no.
Larry King show or something. I was like, this is kind of cool. I got a mic. And you kept turning that thing. I'm like, yeah, all right, this looks cool.
This problem we run into is that these microphones are actually really directional. So the light should be pointing at you, and as a rule, his is always pointed like the other direction. So I have to always go in there and
Tell you what,
Honestly,
why
I
don't you
thought
call Jeff? Go live there.
okay,
Call Jeff.
we try it
And
with
let's
Jeff.
just do a thing with Jeff.
Okay.
And we're still recording so you can use it on the podcast, right?
Yeah, I've been recording the whole time.
Don't get
I
me
never,
in here.
I never
anymore. I'm
stop.
done.
No, you're not.
Oh, all right.
You're still on there, buddy.
Like I said, I thought the entire thing was a great experience, except for I was like, my neck. I wanted to look at you,
Here,
but my
I'm
neck
stand-
was
here,
killing me.
stand
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, don't be
No,
sorry.
just stand up.
Yeah, you gonna do something here?
Yeah, I want you to sit down right there.
Yeah, just
Oh, that
relax.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
and here
would-
you're gonna want to turn the camera a little bit.
This one?
Yeah, you can wiggle it. It's fine. Yeah, there you go. Too much?
Too much camera?
Yeah, I don't want to see the back of the chair. Eh? Or maybe pull it further. No. He's
Let me
thinking.
get past you.
Come on, you're skinny enough. You should get past me just fine. I'm not trying to throw a loop in your thing. It was just.
No, you're
literally, I have
doing
I
fine.
have like a kink in my neck.
I'm so sorry to hear
No,
that.
don't be sorry. I enjoyed this whole thing. It was awesome.
No, but you're definitely
taking the whole-
Go ahead and have a seat.
Oh, well, that makes it a little harder for me. But okay. That really is what we need. No, you need it like that, huh? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's not good.
Literally, all you have to do is like hang like a piece of poster board, like white poster board, and hang that thing on me. You know, it'd look fine. Be honest with you, every time I've watched your podcast, I don't think I've ever even noticed the background. I'm more watching the people and listening
Sure.
versus.
Well,
I mean, obviously you're right. That doesn't look great, but I wouldn't even notice that. I don't think.
yeah, well, you know who would? Luann.
That is true.
I think you're right. I don't.
Well, we need is a
obviously
couple
Mark-
of those little like mini not the mini tripods, but like a
like a
medium.
medium size.
Huh? Every time. Nothing. And
And I
those don't.
Does this
turn.
show up in your podcast?
No. So you get about this much of it, really? And that's the issue.
I kept like, what do I look at if I can't? Because when my neck would hurt, I'm like, I guess I'll look at the fish or the camera.
Yeah.
Do you want me to sit there still?
Yeah, why don't you move your chair to where? Let's try this. Look.
Can I borrow the screen?
Yeah.
Sit down.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Okay. You keep doing your thing. I just needed the window.
And then I'm gonna, for this next thing, I'm gonna go over here and point my camera a little bit more like that. So we're gonna kind of be talking to each other like this. So you're getting this.
But you're gonna have to move this
Yes.
because
just a little bit now.
if not,
Yeah.
it'll be like right in my face.
Yeah, but you need to be close enough to actually talk.
Yeah.
You want water?
No, I'm good. I grabbed a soda when I came
I'm good.
in. But till we go, whatever, I'm gonna stretch my leg.
Yeah.
Do that.
I hope it was okay. I had fun.
No, you did great.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
do you want to grab a slice of pizza?
Just a sec. I really want to figure this out.
Yeah, I'm okay to wait.
Oh, it's gonna be ready at 8 o'clock.
Do I want to grab pizza? As the Pope Catholic.
Right.
I'm not your skinny dude like you are now. Of course I want to fucking eat a piece of pizza.
God, what a fucking nightmare that was. I don't know why that.
I hope it wasn't rude when I said that, but it was just like my neck was killing me. I was
No,
like,
I know.
I mean, I'm like,
You're totally right. It's
all you need is like a poster board.
well. So the idea is in general. Yeah, that's probably true. Well, the thing is, most of this should be in that room with like a window or something.
Yeah.
You know, like you see it in a studio.
Yeah, of course.
The people are in a studio.
Of course.
All the hard shit
Because
is
if Mark
not.
was sitting there, it wouldn't have been a problem.
Well, most of the time, we run all of this on my laptop.
Oh.
And then pipe it through, and it just sort of, and Mark does
His thing.
his thing, and then.
But you're right. You could be in there with a window.
But this
and
is
we could
so
actually,
much
look at
more
you and
powerful.
Because when you
Yeah.
talk, you weren't on camera, right?
No.
So, like, if you were, like, in a window, we
We've
could
only-
actually look at you and talk to you.
We've only done the 2 cameras once before. This is the only second time we've ever done it. So. It was pretty.
I was hoping people had some questions or...
People tend to not.
Hmm?
It seems like it's a very consume while you guys are listening. Because there is, you know.
At some point, are you going to, like... And obviously, there's technical problems right now, but, like, open up telephone lines so people can call in and, hey, I want to ask, you know...
The Skype thing works 90% of the time. It just recording it was great.
Thanks for turning on that now, Mark.
Well, you couldn't do that while you're recording.
I know.
But feeding it through has always been a problem. I'm gonna do this real quick while. All right, this should work. Now, this should be fine. Mic audio. Is it still working? You just give that a little talk or. Great.
Test.
And one for you.
Test.
Perfect.
Why don't you on camera?
I won't be on camera.
Well, that's the way I am. I'm like, hey, could you get the skinny man shot from here up, not the,
Yeah.
big old belly hanging out?
Yeah.
Mark's lost 1 million pounds, so he don't care.
Yeah.
He's like dress up. He shows up in sweatpants and a t-shirt.
You should dress up, really?
Yeah, because I was gonna wear a ball cap, and he's like, "You're gonna be on camera. You should dress up a little bit." I'm like, all right. And he's over there in a t-shirt and ball cap.
We're gonna do a little testy call here. No, I forgot what it was called. See if this. Okay, now don't say. Will you close the door? Would you mind closing the door? I'm sorry.
Sorry. What sucks in show? Jeez.
Okay. Now don't say anything. Neat.
Hello, welcome to Skype call testing service. After the beep,
Thank you.
please record a message. Afterwards, your message will be played back to you.
Alright. We got audio. All audio is where it's supposed to be.
What was the problem?
I'm not 100% sure.
Well, Luann said she couldn't hear you at all.
Yeah, I know, and that's fixed too.
Did she listen to the whole thing?
Huh?
She said it sounded all right.
Yeah? She said it froze up at the end.
Well, I ended it. It froze up, and I just hit end. Did it like when we ended, or
You'll have to ask her.
okay? Anyway, where are we going? All the way to Scott.
What if you put the mic right here, or the camera? Clipped it right here so it's just on the face.
Maybe pretty close. I thought of that.
Or even if you... Can I try something?
Yeah?
Well, I won't break
You just don't have a tremendous amount of cord, just realize.
Yeah.
Does it click?
No.
Oh, it's like Mike. It's like
Yeah.
yeah.
Unfortunately.
See, the problem is Mark doesn't care if he's on camera now because he's skinny. So you don't care. And you said dress up a little bit, and you come in sweatpants and a t-shirt.
I didn't say dress up.
I go, should I like dress up? You're like, well, you're going to be on camera, so you made it sound
You
like I should
implied-
dress up. Implied that I should
You
dress
implied
up.
dress up.
That's why I like combed my hair. I didn't wear a ball cap.
All right, I gotta bring this over
Suzanne
here.
goes, are you going on a date or are you going down to Mark's? I'm like, going down to Mark's.
Is it the same?
I had a good time. though.
Okay, so this
was
is a little
fun.
bit wider of a shot. I'll bring it back. Can you see?
Yeah.
I don't. Okay. Both of you are a little bit wider. There's a lot more headroom for both of you. Are you fine? We can zoom that in a little
Yeah,
bit.
let's just run it. Let's just
Okay.
let's just get
We're
Tony.
ready to go.
But you don't want me on, right?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
Connect. Okay, we should have audio. I swear to God we better have audio. It seems like it's working. I don't see why it wouldn't work.
All right. So headphones.
Headphones, please.
I'll move the Pepsi in a sec.
Okay.
Okay. Streaming is started. You're not live yet.
I want you to call Jeff first,
Okay.
because if we fuck up on Jeff, then
No big deal. Oh, all those cables just showed up at my house. Thanks, guys.
Tony, can you give me some advice on what to say during a construction interview that I have no business being at?
Okay. We're gonna go live first. Three, two, one. Okay. We are live again. Yes.
hey everybody, it's the Mark Hope Show. We are in segment 2, and we're going live from the Mark Hope Show podcast page. And you can't see me. Okay.
Good.
How's
Oh,
that?
shoot, I'm sorry. This is.
So, yeah, that's good. Daniel is going to get us one of our sponsors on the phone right now. And we're concluding our segment with Scott Jungclaus.
Jeff has joined. Okay, we're going to call him, and we are ready to call now. Hopefully you should hear ringing.
I do.
Okay.
We're waiting for a call from Jeff Myers at Action Computers, big supporters of the show.
But he is, he's actually watching the stream. Yet, not answering the phone.
That's all right. He's a little slow.
This is live.
All right, nice talking to you, Jeff.
Okay, while we're waiting for Jeff, I would like to know, Scott, what is the most unusual call that you've ever been on in all of your years of police work? Obviously, you can't name any names or situations, but I mean, what's one of the most like embarrassing things that ever happened? Did anybody ever answer the door naked or whatever?
Yeah, that's happened several times. You know, I think a lot of times you catch people in bad situations when they're not expecting you.
Right.
And you know, we've come across people having fun in their cars in the parks, and
Right, I get that.
yeah. And again, you know, I think the most unusual and the most funniest things involve kids. You know, they think their parents don't know what they're doing, and of course the parents do know what they're doing, and you catch them in some unusual circumstances. I always found the funniest thing was when you go to juvenile parties, and when you got inside, the kids would just run and hide everywhere, and you'd find them in the most unusual places. Underneath the sink, behind towels, and and they just thought, they're never going to look here. And of course, you just open
You guys always look in the
Oh, of
place that
course.
they never said you were going to
Then,
look.
you just open the cabinet and go, okay, time to get them out.
Okay.
So you you caught some juveniles, and you. What about the domestic violence calls?
I don't.
Those are one of the most dangerous things for you guys to go on, right?
Yeah, and the domestic violence laws these days are pretty strict. As far as mandatory arrest and things like that. But yeah, they can definitely be dangerous. And the problem is they want you there to help, but then because of the domestic violence laws, you have to make an arrest. And then when you do make an arrest,
They don't want that.
they don't want that. They just want then they start sticking up for the people they were just fighting with, and things like that.
Crazy.
Yeah, but it's been the best adventure of my life in the last 26 years. I mean, a lot of people go to work and they do the same job day in and day out, and police work is just never the same job, and the same call every day is different, one way or another, and that's what I've always enjoyed in my time as being a police officer.
But what about all the you have a lot of contact risk in the job nowadays, right? What with fentanyl and
yeah.
AIDS needles and different things like that. I mean,
yeah,
isn't it kind of uncomfortable to have to be patting these people down?
Yeah,
And,
it is. You have to take the safety measures that you try to take, but yeah, you come across someone and you have to search them or pat them down, and they have an open needle that's uncapped in their pocket, and that
how's his
obviously-
mic volume? Is he close enough?
obviously becomes a concern for you and your family, and so again, you just take the precautions that you need to do.
Well, I saw a little thing on the internet that said,
Just turn it towards you a little bit more.
Sure.
there's a little penny or whatever, and then a little speck of
Perfect. You're fine.
fentanyl, and that was the amount of fentanyl that would kill you.
Yeah. So I think one of the trends we're seeing in law enforcement, and not just in law enforcement, the society today, is they're just mixing these drugs, mixing fentanyl with heroin, mixing fentanyl with methamphetamine. And the problem is, the user, gets a better high, but it's just too dangerous. And the amount of overdoses that have happened are just climbing like you wouldn't believe.
Hundreds of people are just dying every day because it's just too much.
Yeah, it's sad. As you know, I worked undercover narcotics for many years, and you always think you're going to solve the world, and you realize that you're just putting your piece of bubble gum on the dam, trying to cover the leak. And it really gave me a different outlook on substance abuse users, and how hard it is on their families, and how hard it is on the substance abuse users, and just how hard it is for these people actually to get off these drugs. And it's easy to say, well, why don't they just stop? Well, those drugs really do take effect of your body, and it's just hard for them to get off. And the things that you see them do to their family, steal things from their family and clean out their bank accounts and lie to them. And my heart really goes out to the families that stick by their loved ones and until they get better.
And then eventually have to turn their back on them because that's the only thing you can do.
Right. You really do have to let them hit rock bottom and kind of suffer for themselves until they want to get better.
And you see a lot of that rock bottom
Absolutely.
every night.
Yeah.
What about all the
absolutely.
bums and people that are sleeping outside? And
Well, we like to say persons experiencing homelessness, not bums, but it's just the amount of people experiencing homelessness is just raised like you wouldn't believe. I would say probably 50% of the calls that we go on are suspicious people calls and things, and it's just people that are camping out, begging for money, things like that. And we've just seen such a rise in that, and not just in the community I work in, but just in general in the metro area. And it's just amazing to me how, I mean, somehow we got to get resources for these people. And again, it's something that, you know, you see people that are truly homeless and that need help and that want the resources and want the help. And you see some people that just want, you know, more money for drugs or more money to get a hotel room.
And that's true too. I mean, they some of them like it.
Absolutely.
What's going on?
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, they just haven't hit that rock bottom, and they
don't want somebody to tell them not to have drugs or
Right.
don't do drugs or whatever.
right.
But you get really familiar with some of the folks too out on the beat, right?
Absolutely. You get to know them on a
Where you kind of know, hey Jenny, how you doing?
first name basis, and you kind of start to build a little bit of a relationship, even though it's still a police officer contact relationship. You know, I've seen officers pay for motel rooms.
Sure.
I've seen officers, you know, take right out of their own wallet or give
But
them their lunch.
then they die.
Right.
And so then you're like, hey, where's old Joe?
Right.
Oh, he died. And that's got to kind of hit, you know, because that's you know, people that you see out on the beat and out
Sure.
on the street. And
Sure.
do cops ever walk a beat anymore?
Yeah, we do. We do a lot of foot patrols, especially on the pathways, the bikeways, and things like that. Kind of depends on the officer, but yeah, we encourage officers to get out in the neighborhoods and just talk to people mowing their lawns, or, you know, I mean, let's face it, we work for the community.
Right.
We're ready. Jeff is
You
ready.
got a call?
Whenever you're ready.
Go.
He says he's ready. Okay. We're gonna get another try. Here we go.
Yeah, you need to take it a little bit more seriously because Scott's on the Larry King show right now.
Jeff,
Hey, Jeff Myers.
how you guys doing?
Mark Hope for the Mark Hope Show. How are you doing?
How are you doing, guys? I'm so glad that you gave me an opportunity to come on second round. I turned off the first one. I was like, oh man, I really wanted to say
No,
something.
we had a little bit of technical difficulties, which I think we've solved. But
Great.
we just like to thank Action Computers for being such a great sponsor of the show and of our listeners. And we just kind of wanted to call and see, you know, what kind of things you got going down at the shop. You've got a bunch of deals for the listeners.
I do, and I want to start off by saying thank you for having me. And I mean, you guys are all three of you guys are just awesome. Mark, thank you for everything you do, and Scott, amazing stories. And you know, I know just in talking to you personally, I mean, just gosh, you're just such an empowering story. And
Thank you, Jeff.
I'm so glad that you were able to get through all.
It was a
that.
little different kind of a show tonight, but I think it was good.
Oh, and I'm so fortunate to be a part of it. Thank you so much, guys. But yeah, down at the store, you mentioned earlier, boy, things are going crazy, and we really back to school time for us was pretty fun. We sold a lot of computers, and we had a lot of people that were getting really good deals. And you know, when you're a place that sells computers for, you know, starting at $100 and, you know, sometimes up to 50 to 75% off of retail, I mean, it's a pretty good deal. People really know where to.
I mean,
save money.
it's a pretty crazy thing, right, Jeff? I mean, there's like 100 computers that come from the factory refurbishment facility a day, and then you run out of computers sometimes during the day, right?
It actually happened. Yeah, it's happened a couple times, and you know, they sell faster than we can make them sometimes, and we just went through that. Now we're getting some nice new ones in. In fact, Mark Hope Show listeners, they get special deals on certain computers, and I got a couple of those now, and we just refueled. You know, we just got some new ones in. So yeah, we really sell a lot of things.
They can get Macs and MacBooks and iMacs and all that stuff too, right?
All that stuff. Yeah, we have Apple computers starting at, you know, usually $199
for an
we have
Apple.
iMacs that are sometimes, you know,
for an Apple.
Yeah, Apple computers.
The kind that's in the mall
computers
that's
that are normally
$2,400.
Oh yeah. You
Really?
have to wait in line to get, and sometimes you can't get. You can get them for a couple $100s at Action. So it's an amazing deal, and you know, people really love to save that money.
And what about the service department? You guys are still doing a good job with fixing the people's computers and. How many of
I
those
think
do
we
you
have
do
some
a
of the
day?
best techs in town. Yeah, I
60
think we
or
have some of
70
the best
computers a
techs.
day you do?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we service a lot of computers. In fact, just a couple days ago, I had a customer that was in that she took her stuff into Geek Squad, and they kind of ran her around a little bit. She came into us really frustrated, and we were able to talk to her a little bit, and she left with a really different experience. And she actually was on the phone in our store talking to Geek Squad and telling them, why don't you know the things that these guys know?
Oh, wow.
Long-time customer of ours. She had a warranty with them, and she said, you know what, forget the warranty. I'm going to pay you guys to do it, and I'm never going to buy something from them again. So really amazing story, and that happens probably, I mean, I can't even count the number of times, 100 times a month. I mean,
Right.
people come to us, and they know they're getting
Well,
good service.
And if they have these viruses that happen, I mean, you can fix their computers and alleviate the virus.
I can't believe how many computers we get in with viruses, parasites, and we see it a lot. And you think a lot of people would know the scams. You think people would know that when the FBI calls your home phone, you say, okay, maybe this isn't true, but there's a lot of people out there that don't know what to look for.
But a lot of times it's a random click on an email that you didn't really mean to do, right?
It's gotten me too.
But what should the people do after they do the click? What should they bring their computer in and you guys fix it?
Turn it off. Bring it in. Yeah.
Okay.
You have one thing. You may have 10 things, and those things can grow. And the worst thing that could happen is we don't want your data to be at risk. So what we do is we make sure that everything's safe. We'll remove all that stuff, and that way you can sleep at night, not worrying that somebody's going to take your stuff or do anything that we don't want them to do, because boy, that's scary.
And then you can put on some software that'll alleviate that problem too, right?
We can. Yep. We load some antivirus software that's going to keep it clean. That's going to get everything. We're going to clean it up first, but then it's going to be a preventative type of software where.
So that way, next time it'll block it. So they don't have that problem.
Still got to be careful online. But I mean, you want to keep yourself protected, and we only recommend programs we use. And I run what we recommend on my computers, and it's the best that you can get.
Well, that sounds great, Jeff. Well, listen, I just want to tell you, really appreciate all of your support for the show and all the tremendous work that you do with the Mark Hope Charities. And, I know you guys are always really, really, in there supporting the charities that need help with their computer stuff. And, especially the disadvantaged kids that need computers given to them. And that is a big thing in the community that more people should know that Action Computers is doing good things out there. And I really want to just commend you for all of that good work. So.
Well, thank you, and thank you for everything you guys do as well. I mean, like I said, you guys, I mean, wonderful night. I mean, just amazing stories, and everything you guys have talked about why we're here, and boy, it's a great story. We're fortunate to be able to listen to your show.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, can we call you next week on Monday when we have the show and get a special deal for the listeners when we do the Facebook Live?
Call me next week. I got some really good specials for the Facebook listeners. We're going to do a service ad, and we're actually going to have a Mark Hope special that only Mark Hope show listeners can get.
That sounds scary.
It's a computer that is going to get a big discount. So yeah, you guys feel free to call me. I'm happy to get you a deal.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, thanks for all you do.
Hey, thank you guys. Thanks for what you do.
Take care. Take care.
Thanks, Jeff.
You want to tee up Tony? Do you need the number again?
Nope.
Pat Sierra.
He was in, I don't know if he still is.
Action Computers, official computer supplier to K9 University.
Are we off?
No.
We're never off. We're always working. This is not police work. We have to actually.
I might say, I like the way that mic hangs. You look really cool. I feel like I'm on the Larry King show. I ain't gonna lie.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you.
We are still live on the.
Yeah, but nobody's watching the show page.
Do you want to switch back to you?
No.
Okay.
Is this like Ellen, where I get a new car or something?
Sometimes it's a car, sometimes it's a protein shake. You never know. It might be a slice of pizza.
Hey.
It might be a motorcycle.
And you guys can still see each other? That's all right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Even though he looks
Just feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, way better. But you do look way cooler. I want a mic that hangs like right here.
You going right there?
Yeah, it doesn't stretch as far. It's all good.
We'll stretch it next. Okay. We're gonna call Tony the Carpenter back. And wait a
Come
You're
through.
gonna move it right now?
Hey, he's an impulse kid.
Sign behind you. Okay. Just live and recording.
It's all right. It's the way we roll on the Mark Hope Show.
Hold that up for you.
Oh yeah, that part just comes right off.
Hey, when
I love it.
We're making famous.
A little better every time.
I love
A
it.
little better every time.
Remember that time we were in the studio back in the day?
Check. There we go. All right. How's that?
That is perfect.
This I like. Oh, you broke. I like being able to see what you guys don't see the monitor. That's nice. I can work somehow with just two.
Now this is blinking.
I might have hit a button.
Yeah, you.
Now I got a solid line.
Yeah, you did it because he had audio up until you messed around.
Gotcha.
Everybody's good. Everybody has audio. We're still live. PJ is listening to us. Be ridiculous.
That's perfect. Now I feel like
No,
I'm
you
on
can't see him now.
the Larry King Show. That's okay.
That's good.
I like it.
That's good.
I like it. I feel like I'm on the Larry King Show now.
What are you?
Larry King Show live.
Is it across the front? Oh, yeah, you did. You can't see his face.
He likes it.
I like it.
That's a tremendous lag even over there.
Yeah, that's how this works. That's what
Oh,
look at
gotcha.
This one.
Gotcha.
You just need like a piece of paper over this. It's.
No, that's exactly right. I should do that. So you're gonna get me?
I feel official.
Tony?
But yeah, when you put your headphones back on, we are ready to go. We're gonna call Tony. 3, 2, 1.
There, how's that?
Just remember to point the light towards you.
We're live with Larry King.
That's actually a good shot because it's got the Mark Hope Show placard right behind you.
Oh,
Tony, Mark
Hey,
at the Mark Hope Show, back at you. We are actually doing the regular podcast show now, and we're streaming live on the Mark Hope page, but mainly this is going to go out to Google Play and the iTunes Store, and then we're going to push it to the YouTube channel. And we just wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit more about the work that you're doing in the Denver area. Now, what areas do you service? Do you go anywhere to help people with their home stuff?
yeah, I go all over. Castle Rock, Highlands Ranch, all the way up Boulder, Broomfield, Lafayette, Louisville, Thornton.
Now you'll do a smaller job as well as maybe even a whole basement refinishing or even a whole house remodel for a realtor that wants to flip a house or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Small projects consisting of tile, painting, wood floors, any sort of custom, built-ins, fireplace mantles, kitchen cabinets. People want to change out their kitchen cabinets, all the way up to framing out basements, additions.
That sounds awesome, man. So pretty much anybody that needs anything, they can just call you and you'll get it done.
Yeah, it's 25 years in the business. I've seen and pretty much have been through every aspect of the construction field. And There's not much that I can't do, and the things that I can't do, I have connections here as well of those people. So I come with a good team and delivering a quality product.
And that's really
Quality
really the
materials.
big focus with you guys at Wall to Wall, right? Is, you show up when you say you're going to show up.
7 days a week. I was listening to podcasts, and I know we're supposed to balance it out a little bit more.
Right.
Just pushing really hard on growing my business name out here. So just doing the little things, going the extra mile.
But the most
provide
frustrating thing is when you have a contractor that won't show up.
Oh, absolutely. They'll tell you 2 weeks, and I'll get you a bid 2 weeks from now. It's like, I'll get you a bid tonight, and we can get going if you like the numbers.
But if you say you're going to come out there, I mean, you come out there.
Absolutely, yeah. And I got a fairly fast response rate. I'm usually within 30 minutes. If I missed your phone call, I return.
But I mean,
phone
you're not
calls.
going to, a lot of the people that run into problems that I know have contractors that come in and they start the job and they, whatever, they take a third of the money and then they don't show up for 2 or 3 weeks. And then the homeowners are just kind of left in the lurch by these people and they won't call them back. And that's the difference at Wall to Wall, right? If people call you, answer your phone, and they don't have to worry about the professionalism and you guys really getting in there and taking care of things, right?
Yeah, I mean, we stand by integrity for sure. I think that's one of the most important business practices you can have is delivering on your words.
There are a lot of people that don't do that. Unfortunately, in this business climate, with the growth being the way it is, there's so many contractors out there that, people can get a little bit lazy and still get work. And that's frustrating.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think part of the issue as well is a lot of companies started up with people that have no idea how to do this stuff. They just started a business and they go on Craigslist and they find workers. So a lot of these people that are, signing contracts, they're not the ones that are actually doing the work. They're subbing out the work to other people.
who may not be so good.
When those people, and then when those people don't show up, they're left like, oh man, I don't have anybody. I see it so often out here that there's
Yeah.
a lot of companies with all of this work, but yet they have no workers, which signifies to me, I mean, I stay pretty busy.
Right.
And I never take on more than what I can handle because there's enough work for all of us to go around. And if you don't have workers, you shouldn't be signing the contracts.
Well, because your word is important, unlike a lot of these other guys. I mean, your word means something to you because most of your business is word of mouth and referrals, right? It's hard to get a hold of you otherwise.
It's it's a selective, group that
And then-
I prefer to deal with, and it's not all money's good money. I don't just take jobs because it's lucrative. If there's something I missed in there and I don't feel right about it, then I won't do it. Or if there's something that I can't do, I know I said earlier and people couldn't hear, but earlier in my career there was a lot of times that I would say, yeah, I could do it, and I had to learn real quick on how to do it or call for help. So you see a lot of that going on as well, guys that are taking on work, and I get it. We all have to start somewhere. So I'm just past that phase, and now I'm just really geared towards delivering quality products, and I just feel like the market.
Well, and that's the reason that I feel comfortable with wall to wall is because I know it's going to be done right. I've had, in the past before you guys came along, I mean, there's been people that work on my stuff and it's like they screw it all up and then I have to hire somebody else to fix it. I mean, it is so frustrating when you get burned by one of these people that really doesn't know what they're doing.
I would say to help realtors, people like yourself, and other investors, and just regular homeowners. You can tell a lot about a contractor, by the way they present themselves when they show up to your home. And I know people could put on a good look, but really the way they carry themselves and they explain the details of the project. If you don't get a lot of detail out of what the person's going to be doing for you.
Hey Tony, could you mention
red
your phone
flag.
number again real quick? Corey Williams is chiming in on the show, wants to know who we're interviewing with. It's Wall to Wall.
Yeah,
And
number 2, Wall to Wall Home Renovations LLC. And my phone number is 720-487-0033.
and big or small, you handle it all.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of really
Wall
expensive
to Wall.
homes in Aspen too, right?
Yeah, I would love to, do some higher end quality work up there.
Because that's really your specialty, is the handcrafted stuff. A lot of people think, you do all the construction work and you get all that stuff done and you do a great job for everybody. But you also do highly artistic detail work and a lot of artistic type stuff too, right?
Absolutely.
You're a master cabinet maker.
I needed somewhere else to grow to, I guess, feed my passion in this industry. And stick framing and hanging drywall is good, and it helps pay bills. However, it's not something I'm extremely passionate about.
I've seen some of your bookshelves before, and it's just something like out of the 18th century Victorian homes, just beautiful built-in stuff. I mean, that takes real talent.
Myself and my craftsmanship on, the custom built-in stuff and the woodworking. I guess when I get to be a ripe old age, my dream is to be my own furniture maker and
That's cool.
master craftsman at building precision pieces for people and turning the art ability. I got a natural gift of artistic talent. I recently posted something on Reddit and received 7,200 likes, and it blew me away. I was like, wow, this is just lines on a paper to me. And so many people commented, over 160 comments, of how, well, that was done by hand. Some people said, well, I can't even do that with, the 3D CAD program. So I really use that to my advantage, and I provide renderings to my clients.
Well, and then I think
the project's going to look like.
I think that really helps, but you have somebody who's creative and can visualize that stuff for the customer and say, the customer says, I want this, and then you say, well, have you considered this? And it's a game changer.
Absolutely. There's, I believe, just a lot of wasted space in our homes. There's cavity in between studs that we could put bookshelves in. I recently did that in Highlands Ranch for one of my clients. You shouldn't have, if you're spending $500,000 on a property, you shouldn't have to go out to the store to buy certain things.
Well, and that's a really good point,
home.
because a lot of the homes in Denver are that expensive nowadays. I mean,
What's
if you've
that?
got a lot of homes in Denver are that expensive. That's the average price of a home. So if you're going to have that valuable of an asset, we should have somebody like Wall to Wall taking care of everything.
Well, I just think if you're spending, $500,000 to $750,000 on a property, you shouldn't get a drywall fireplace mantle.
Yeah.
You should have some features built into your home to accommodate those numbers.
Well, and not only that, but I mean, if you do a nice remodel on your bathroom, that's great. But if the guys don't do it right and it leaks down into the dining room, how far are you ahead now that you went cheap on some Craigslist guy that didn't show up and finish the job? And, the actual under part of the tile, they didn't put the cement board down like, some quality craftsman would do, and it doesn't last the way it should. And then you've got a big problem. You got to rip it all out, right?
Yeah, you're spending good money after bad. I'm a firm believer in you get what you pay for.
Right.
There's a reason why Mercedes costs, what it costs, and Toyota costs what it costs. They're both reliable vehicles, but there's got to be a reason why one costs more than the other, is all I'm getting at. And
I found wall-to-wall to be, not the most expensive around, but very high quality. And that's really kind of where you guys position yourselves, right? High quality and affordable for people that want good work done.
Well, we also offer military discounts, disabled vets. I was going to chime in on and offer Scott, my services, police officers, firefighters.
See, that's great. I love that. We do the same thing in a lot of my businesses.
Back to the community as well. I don't believe.
So any of you cops out there that need stuff done on your houses, remember, wall to wall, we'll take care of it for you. Except for a couple of you guys I know who are, a little too cheap. You know who you are. Scott has a question for Tony. Go ahead.
Hey, Tony. I just had a quick question. I think I've always wanted to know, and the listeners, I think, would since Wall to Wall's so honest and their integrity is so high. Obviously, you're on the Mark Hope Show. So my question would be, when you get a contractor come in, how do you know how much money? Sometimes they just want the materials. I've had them say, I want all the money. Sometimes they want half. I'm just curious, where is like the danger zone where you say something ain't right here? I should only be putting half down, or what is the proper
That's
amount?
a good question.
Usually your smaller projects, if you're having me come in and we're going to do, like a painting, I'm going to paint your living room and dining room, then usually I'm just going to charge you for material cost up front. So that'll probably be 25%. If we get into larger projects that are going to run into multiple weeks, then usually you cut those into thirds. And then there are times that you just do a 50-50. However, you should never give anybody more than 50% of the project up front. And you should never sign or not do a project unless you have signed a contract with that person that not only protects, the contractor, but it protects you as a client.
That's good advice.
Yeah, very much so.
Are set, we're set in stone on when this is starting. If there's a change order in between, then obviously that changes scheduling. However, you should have a number of days, and then you yourself can kind of calculate. Okay, he said it's going to take him 14 days, and the project's, $10,000. And he asked for, $5,000 up front. Well, he just asked for 7 days of payment from you. And he hasn't produced anything yet. So
I think that's really good advice.
Like, how much of the project did he want up front? And then, what is he providing you? So.
No, I think that's really good advice, and no, it does, and I think that's really good advice to protect the listeners. And just so happens to be that I'm in the business for a remodel real quick on a basement bathroom, so I'll probably be giving Wall to Wall a quick call. So I'll be talking to you soon, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Hey, we're running into a time crunch here. So, Tony, we are definitely going to have you back on the show. We'd like to hear some more, guidelines and tips, some interesting stories about some jobs that you're doing. But if anybody can use a really good contractor, Tony is ready and able to handle all of your needs. And again, we'll have it in the show notes, and reach out to Tony and Tony, thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me, Mark. Thank you very much.
All right, talk to you soon,
Thanks,
buddy.
Tony.
All right. Thanks,
Bye.
Scott. Bye-bye.
And this is going to close out segment 2 of the Mark Hope Show podcast. And thanks for joining us. Did you end it? Oh, you're waiting. Gotcha.
No, don't take off your headphones yet. Are we done?
Yeah.
Just put your headphones there. Look how much cooler you look, seriously, than the guest. You just look like you're in an actual...
Guess whose headphones those are.
Yeah. Yeah, why am I getting a little... But like, you just for some reason look like Larry King. You got the cord hanging. It
Right?
just looks way cooler.
I would have switched
I'm
with
sitting
you.
over here going like, I feel like a dork. I
Well,
thought
I think we helped Tony.
I
Did you shut it down because of 15 minutes, or did you shut it down because you want pizza?
No, 15 minutes. I was telling you the time because you said he gets 15 minutes and
Yeah.
he's starting to go over. And I was
Yeah,
like,
good. Well, let's go get you guys some pizza.
I,
I think we're gonna actually stop recording.
actually
everything for
gonna-
a second
I
here.
actually think I'm going to call that guy. Because I'm thinking about trying to get my dad a little bit more room in the remodel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop streaming.
But
Stop.
how do you know that guy?
Mark Klein.
Oh,
Wait. Before we finish all this, we
But
need
he is
to.
a talented guy.
We have no intro. We need to do an intro.
Let's go have pizza,
We want, okay. All right.
and then we'll come up here.
You
and
have to
do
come
the
back
intro.
up here, Scott.
okay. The only reason I asked, no, then I'll be all sad. No, I'm just kidding.